Have you ever woken up and felt that nagging whisper deep within something has to change? That whisper is not random. It is the voice of your true self, yearning to break free from the chains of habit, fear, and hesitation. Right now, you are standing at the crossroads of your life. One road leads to more of the same, while the other holds the promise of transformation, fulfillment, and freedom. But here's the thing: change doesn't happen because you wish for it. It happens when you decide, with every fiber of your being, that the life you've known is no longer enough. So ask yourself, are you ready? Are you ready to rewrite your story, to let go of the weight that's been holding you back, and step into a life that's not just lived, but fully experienced? Stick with me, because by the end of this journey, you won't just believe change is possible, you'll feel it moving within you, ready to reshape everything. The present moment is the most powerful and transformative aspect of life, yet it's often the most overlooked. We spend so much of our time living in a mental realm that exists nowhere but in our own minds. We replay the past, dwelling on moments that can't be changed, revisiting old pains as if they hold the key to our future. Simultaneously, we project ourselves into an uncertain future, crafting fantasies, anxieties, and endless to-do lists in an attempt to control what hasn't even happened yet. But in doing so, we miss the one place where life truly exists, the now. Right now, as you sit here reading or listening, this moment contains everything you need to begin anew. It is rich with possibility, filled with the raw material of transformation. It's easy to dismiss this idea, to think, yes, but the present is ordinary. My real breakthrough will happen later, when I finally get it together, when I have the right job, the right relationship, the right circumstances. But the truth is, there is no future. What we call the future is merely a concept, an endless horizon that recedes as we try to approach it. When it arrives, it does so disguised as another present moment. And the past? The past is no more real than the future. It exists only in memory, a collection of thoughts that we carry with us like a heavy backpack. We cling to it as if it defines us, as if the events we've experienced are the boundaries of who we can become. But what is memory but a flicker of thought arising in the now? If you truly look at it, you'll see that the past only has power because we allow it. The present moment, on the other hand, is alive. It is immediate, vibrant, and unshaped by anything but your awareness of it. To change your life, you must first come to understand the nature of this moment. It is not static. It is not fixed. The present moment is fluid, dynamic, constantly unfolding, and it carries within it the seeds of transformation. Every breath you take is an opportunity to reset, to let go of what no longer serves you, and to realign yourself with what truly matters. But to access this power, you must be here, fully here, without distraction or judgment. Our minds resist this simplicity. They are addicted to thinking, to planning, to analyzing. The mind whispers, this can't be enough. You need to figure it all out first. You need answers, strategies, guarantees. But life doesn't work that way. Answers don't come from thinking about the future, they come from being present enough to see what is needed right now. Clarity arises not from endless analysis, but from stillness, from attention, from the willingness to be where you are. When you truly embrace the present moment, you begin to see life in a new way. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The sound of the wind, the rhythm of your breath, the warmth of the sun on your skin, these aren't just background noise. They are life itself, inviting you to participate, to awaken to the fullness of your existence. This isn't about denying the past or ignoring the future, it's about understanding their place. The past provides lessons, the future offers direction, but the present is where you act. It is where you make decisions, where you take steps, where you live. Change doesn't happen in some abstract tomorrow. It happens in the small, deliberate choices you make now. It happens when you choose to let go of the stories that bind you, when you decide to face what you've been avoiding, when you take a single step forward, even if you don't know where the path will lead. The present moment is not just where life happens, it's where you create life. Every action you take in the now sends ripples outward, shaping the future in ways you can't yet imagine. But this requires courage. It's easier to distract ourselves, to scroll through our phones, to stay lost in thought. Being present asks you to face yourself, to feel what you're feeling, to acknowledge what you've ignored. It's not always comfortable, but it is real, and it is where transformation begins. When you bring your full attention to this moment, something shifts. You start to notice possibilities you hadn't seen before. You begin to trust the flow of life, to see that everything you need is already here, waiting for you to claim it. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you, and the gateway is always now. The question is, will you walk through it? Letting go of illusions is one of the most transformative acts a person can undertake, yet it is also one of the most challenging. We are surrounded by layers of stories, beliefs, and ideas that shape how we see the world and, most importantly, how we see ourselves. These illusions feel real because we've carried them for so long, clinging to them as though they are essential to our identity. But in truth, they are like shadows on a wall, insubstantial and fleeting. They have no real power except for the energy we give them. To change your life, you must first recognize these illusions for what they are and release your grip on them. Consider the stories you tell yourself. I'm not smart enough. I've always been unlucky. I'm not the kind of person who can do great things. These are not truths, they are narratives. Somewhere along the way, you pick them up perhaps from a difficult experience, from the words of someone you trusted, or from a series of events that felt like proof. Over time, they solidified in your mind, becoming the lens through which you see the world. But the lens is not the reality, it is simply a filter. What happens if you take it off? What happens if you start questioning these stories instead of accepting them? Illusions thrive on repetition. The more you tell yourself something, the more it feels true, even if it isn't. This is why it's so difficult to break free from them. They are deeply ingrained habits of thought. But no matter how convincing they seem, they are not permanent. They are only thoughts, and thoughts can change. The first step is to become aware of them. Pay attention to the voice in your head. Notice the judgments, the doubts, the fears. Where do they come from? Are they based on facts or are they interpretations? Most often, you'll find that they are assumptions dressed up as reality. Once you begin to see through the illusions, you may notice something remarkable. They are not just limiting, they are exhausting. Carrying these false beliefs requires an enormous amount of energy. It's like dragging a heavy suitcase full of things you don't need, but you've been carrying it for so long that you've forgotten you can set it down. Imagine what it would feel like to let go, to release the weight, to stand free and unburdened. This is the power of letting go of illusions. It creates space for something new to emerge. But letting go is not always easy. These illusions often feel safe, even if they are harmful. They are familiar, and the familiar can be comforting, even when it limits us. Stepping away from them can feel like stepping into the unknown, and the unknown is scary. This is why so many people stay trapped, not because they lack the ability to change, but because they fear what change might bring. The key is to recognize that the fear itself is another illusion. It is not a wall, but a veil, thin and transparent, that only seems impenetrable until you take a step forward. To let go of illusions, you must also let go of control, or at least the illusion of control. We cling to certain beliefs because they give us a sense of order, a way to make sense of the chaos of life. But life is not meant to be controlled, it is meant to be experienced. When you stop trying to hold on so tightly, you realize that the chaos is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It shows you what you need to release, what no longer serves you, and what you are ready to embrace. There is also an incredible freedom in recognizing that these illusions are not unique to you. Everyone carries them in some form. Everyone struggles with self-doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs. Knowing this can be a relief. It means you are not broken or flawed. You are simply human. And like every other human being, you have the capacity to see beyond the illusions and step into a deeper truth. The question is not whether you are capable of letting go, but whether you are willing. Letting go of illusions doesn't mean rejecting everything you've ever believed. It means being willing to examine those beliefs and see if they are still true for you. It means giving yourself permission to change, to grow, to evolve. What served you in the past may no longer serve you now. And that's okay. Life is not static, and neither are you. Every time you release an illusion, you make room for something real, something that aligns with who you truly are, not who you thought you had to be. This is the essence of transformation. The interconnectedness of life is a truth that often escapes our daily awareness, yet it quietly shapes everything we experience. We live in a world that teaches us to see ourselves as separate, isolated entities. We are told to focus on our individual ambitions, our personal struggles, and our own path forward. But beneath this illusion of separateness lies a deeper reality: everything is connected. Every action, every thought, every choice ripples outward, touching lives and events in ways we may never fully understand. This interconnectedness is not a philosophical abstraction, it is the very fabric of existence. Take a moment to consider how even the smallest actions create waves. A smile shared with a stranger might brighten their day, leading them to treat someone else with kindness, setting off a chain reaction you'll never witness, but that you helped set in motion. Conversely, a moment of anger or harshness can ripple outward in the same way, spreading tension and negativity far beyond its point of origin. We are not isolated islands, we are threads in an infinite web, each of us affecting and being affected by the whole. This interconnectedness also means that the challenges we face are not ours alone. When you struggle, your struggle influences those around you. When you grow, your growth uplifts others. We are all part of the same system, and the changes we make within ourselves echo outward into the world. If you believe that your journey of transformation is a solitary one, think again. Every step you take toward becoming your true self contributes to a collective shift. The courage you show inspires others to find their own courage. The love you cultivate in your heart radiates outward, touching people in ways you may never see. But interconnectedness is not just about people, it is about the entire tapestry of existence. Every element of life is linked, from the air we breathe to the food we eat, to the earth beneath our feet. When we harm the planet, we harm ourselves. When we nurture it, we nurture our own well-being. This is not merely an environmental message, it is a reminder of the unity that underpins everything. The same energy that courses through your body flows through the rivers, the trees, and the stars. When you pause to truly feel this connection, you begin to see the world differently. You start to understand that your life is not separate from the world around you, it is an expression of it. This understanding can be both humbling and empowering. It humbles us by showing how small we are in the grand scheme of things, yet it empowers us by revealing the profound impact we can have. If everything is connected, then every choice matters. The way you treat yourself matters. The way you treat others matters. Even the thoughts you hold in your mind matter, for they shape your actions, which in turn shape the world. When you recognize this, you begin to see your life as part of something much greater, something infinitely vast yet deeply intimate. Interconnectedness also teaches us that we are never truly alone. In moments of despair, it can feel as though the world has abandoned us, as though we are adrift in a sea of uncertainty. But the truth is, the support you need is always present if you are willing to look for it. It may come from an unexpected place, a kind word from a stranger, a synchronicity that feels too perfect to be coincidence, or simply the quiet presence of nature reminding you that life continues, even in the face of hardship. These moments are not random, they are expressions of the web of connection that holds everything together. When you begin to live with an awareness of interconnectedness, it transforms how you relate to others. You start to see beyond superficial differences, recognizing the shared humanity that binds us all. You realize that the struggles and joys of others are not so different from your own. This awareness fosters compassion, a natural empathy that arises when you see yourself in others and others in yourself. It becomes harder to judge, to blame, or to act out of selfishness when you understand that in harming another, you ultimately harm yourself. At the same time, interconnectedness challenges the ego's desire for control. We often act as though we can bend the world to our will, shaping it according to our preferences and plans. But life is not something to be controlled, it is something to be participated in. The web of connection is constantly shifting, and your role within it is not fixed. You are both an individual and a part of the whole, both a single note and part of the symphony. To truly embrace interconnectedness is to surrender the illusion of separateness and to step into the flow of life as it unfolds. Change demands courage, and the courage to change is often the most difficult thing to summon. It's not simply about making a decision or setting a goal. It's about taking a leap into the unknown. It's about embracing the uncertainty and stepping forward despite the fears and doubts that rise up within us. The idea of change is alluring, yet it also stirs deep-rooted fears. We are creatures of habit, and the thought of leaving behind the familiar, even if it's holding us back, can be terrifying. But it is only by having the courage to leap that we open the door to true transformation. When we stand at the edge of change, we often feel as though we are standing at the edge of a cliff, with no guarantee that the ground beneath us will be solid. We hesitate, second-guess ourselves, and look for signs that it's safe to jump. But here's the truth: there are no guarantees. Life does not offer perfect assurances. The leap is not one that can be calculated or planned. It is a choice to trust in something greater than our fear, greater than our need for control. It is a choice to trust ourselves, to trust the process, and to believe that even if we stumble, we will still be moving forward. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. Fear is a natural response to the unknown, but it does not have to control you. Every great leap of change, every breakthrough has been preceded by fear. Think about the times in your life when you've been on the verge of something new, whether it was starting a new job, moving to a new city, or stepping into a relationship. You likely felt that flutter of uncertainty in your stomach, the urge to hold back, to wait for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment never comes. Change is not about waiting for the right circumstances. It's about taking the step, even when the path is unclear. In fact, the act of stepping into the unknown is what makes change possible. It is in the act of leaping that you begin to find your way. The leap is not just a physical one, it's a shift in perspective, a shift in your willingness to embrace uncertainty. When you step forward into the unknown, the world opens up in ways you couldn't have predicted. You start to notice opportunities that were always there, but that you couldn't see when you were stuck in the comfort of the familiar. This is where growth happens, not in the certainty of where you're going, but in the trust that the journey will unfold as you move forward. Yet courage to change is not just about the big leaps. It is also about the smaller, quieter choices we make every day. It's about choosing to show up, to keep moving forward, even when the path is hard. Change isn't a one-time event, it's a process, and each small act of courage compounds. Every decision to take a different route, to speak your truth, to leave behind a habit that no longer serves you, is a leap in itself. Over time, these small acts build upon one another, leading you to a transformation that is both profound and lasting. The courage to change also means confronting the parts of ourselves we may not want to see. It requires honesty and self-awareness. We must be willing to face the uncomfortable truths, the patterns that have kept us stuck, and the fears that hold us back. This process is not easy, but it is necessary. To leap into the unknown is to leave behind the old version of yourself, the version that has been shaped by past experiences, conditioned responses, and limiting beliefs. It is to step into a new version of yourself, one that is open, fluid, and capable of growth. This is where real freedom lies, not in holding on to who we were, but in embracing who we are becoming. So why do we resist change? Why do we hesitate to leap even when we know it is what we need? Often it's because we fear failure. We fear that if we take the leap, we will fall short or make mistakes. But failure is not the end of the road, it is a part of the journey. Failure is simply feedback, a stepping stone on the way to success. Each mistake is an opportunity to learn, to refine, and to grow. When you leap, you are giving yourself permission to fail, and in doing so, you open yourself to the possibility of success. The courage to leap is the courage to trust in life itself. It is the recognition that while you may not control the outcome, you can control your response. You can choose to move forward with faith, with conviction, and with the belief that the act of leaping in and of itself is a victory. Change is not something that happens to you, it is something you choose to embrace. And once you embrace it, you find that you have within you all the strength, wisdom, and resilience you need to face whatever comes next. To truly change your life, you must first confront a deeply uncomfortable truth. You are the one responsible for your own happiness. This may seem like a simple, even obvious statement, yet for many it's an incredibly difficult realization to accept. We are conditioned to believe that our happiness depends on external circumstances, on other people, on the things we own, or on the recognition we receive. But the truth is, far more profound happiness is a choice, one that we make in every moment of our lives. It is not something that is granted to us, it is something we cultivate from within. The first step in this journey is understanding that nothing outside of you can truly make you happy. The car you've always wanted, the perfect job, the ideal relationship, these things may bring temporary joy, but they cannot provide lasting fulfillment. As soon as the novelty wears off, the external sources of happiness fade, leaving you to chase after the next big thing. This cycle is exhausting, and it keeps you trapped in a loop of dissatisfaction. You think you need more to be happy, but the truth is you need less. You need to stop relying on the outside world to determine your inner state and instead look within. When you make the shift from seeking happiness outside of yourself to finding it within, you begin to see the world differently. The simple pleasures, the warmth of the sun on your face, the taste of a warm cup of tea, the sound of birds singing become more than just fleeting moments. They become reminders of the joy that is already present in your life. You start to recognize that happiness is not a destination, but a way of being. It is the ability to find peace in the present moment, regardless of your circumstances. This shift in perspective is not about denying the reality of hardship or struggle. Life will always have its challenges. But happiness is not the absence of difficulty, it is the ability to find joy and meaning despite it. It's about choosing to respond to life's challenges with a mindset of growth, of seeing setbacks not as obstacles, but as opportunities for learning and self-discovery. When you stop waiting for life to get better before you can be happy, you open yourself up to the richness of life, even in its most difficult moments. One of the biggest barriers to cultivating happiness is our attachment to expectations. We often tie our happiness to specific outcomes. I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll be happy when I meet the right person. I'll be happy when I finally lose the weight. But this kind of thinking traps us in a never-ending cycle of when this happens. Then I will be happy. The truth is, there will always be another when waiting on the horizon. This type of thinking keeps us in a state of perpetual longing, never fully satisfied with the present moment. When you release your attachment to outcomes and learn to find joy in the now, you free yourself from the tyranny of the future. Another challenge is the habit of comparing yourself to others. We live in a world that constantly bombards us with images of success, beauty, and wealth, and it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that happiness is something to be attained by measuring up to these external standards. But when you compare yourself to others, you are only measuring yourself against an illusion. No one's life is as perfect as it may appear on the outside, and by focusing on someone else's journey, you lose sight of your own. True happiness comes from embracing your own path, your own unique set of circumstances, and realizing that your worth is not determined by how you stack up against anyone else. The key to finding lasting happiness lies in self-acceptance. It is the ability to embrace who you are right now, with all of your imperfections, mistakes, and flaws. Self-acceptance is not about resigning yourself to mediocrity or settling for less. It is about recognizing your inherent value and giving yourself permission to be whole, just as you are. When you accept yourself, you no longer rely on external validation to feel good about yourself. You stop seeking approval from others and start living from a place of internal strength. This is not to say that you should give up on your goals or stop striving for improvement. On the contrary, self-acceptance creates the foundation for true growth. When you accept yourself, you are free to pursue your passions and dreams without the burden of self-doubt or fear of failure. You become less concerned with proving yourself and more focused on living authentically. True happiness comes when you stop looking outside of yourself for validation and instead choose to validate your own existence. The more you practice self-acceptance, the more you realize that happiness isn't something to be achieved, it is something to be lived. It's a state of being, not a future goal. It's about finding peace with who you are right now in this moment. When you live from this place of internal contentment, the external circumstances of your life no longer define your happiness. You become the creator of your own joy, independent of what the world may offer. We are all shaped by the stories we tell ourselves. These stories are the lens through which we view the world, our past, our present, and our future. They define our identity and influence our actions, yet many of these stories are not our own. They are inherited from society, from family, from culture, and even from our own experiences that we've interpreted in certain ways. What's powerful is that these stories are not fixed, they are malleable, fluid, and can be rewritten. The story you are living today is not the final chapter, it is only one version of your life's narrative. If you want to change your life, you must first change the story you are telling yourself. The stories we hold about ourselves often arise from our early experiences. We may have been told we weren't good enough, that we didn't belong, or that we would never succeed. These stories are powerful because they are formed in our most formative years, and we carry them with us like a shadow, often without realizing it. The problem arises when we start to believe these stories are truths. We begin to live as though the story we've been told is the only story that matters, even though it doesn't fully represent who we are or who we can become. When you identify with these stories, they become your reality, and they shape your decisions, your relationships, and your outlook on life. They define what you believe is possible for yourself. But here's the thing, you don't have to be bound by the past. You can challenge the stories that no longer serve you. You can rewrite them. The beauty of human consciousness is that we have the ability to step outside of ourselves and see the bigger picture. We have the power to reflect on our experiences, to reframe them, and to choose new narratives. This is where transformation begins in the space between what you've been told and what you choose to believe about yourself. The moment you realize you can change your story is the moment you reclaim your power. This process begins with awareness. You have to recognize the stories you've been living by and question their validity. What beliefs are you holding onto that are limiting you? What stories have you inherited that are not truly yours? Maybe you've believed for years that you're not worthy of success or happiness. Maybe you've convinced yourself that change is impossible, that the life you have is the life you're stuck with. These stories are not facts, they are beliefs. And beliefs can be changed. Once you have awareness of these limiting stories, you can start to rewrite them. It's important to understand that rewriting your story doesn't mean denying your past or pretending that things haven't happened. It means changing the way you interpret those events. It means shifting the focus from what you've lost or failed at to what you've learned, what you've gained, and the person you've become in the process. Every challenge, every setback, every hardship has shaped you into who you are today. But it doesn't define you. You are not a sum of your failures or your mistakes. You are a work in progress, constantly evolving, constantly rewriting your own narrative. The next step in rewriting your story is to step into the future you want to create. This requires vision, seeing yourself not as you are, but as you could be. What is the story you want to tell about your life? What kind of person do you want to become? The key to changing your life is to first imagine it. Imagine a version of yourself that is free of fear, free of limitation, free of past conditioning. Imagine a version of yourself that steps into every situation with confidence and authenticity. Imagine a version of yourself that is aligned with your deepest values and passions. When you can see this future self, you begin to bring it into reality, one decision at a time. This is not an overnight process. Rewriting your story takes time and effort, and there will be moments of doubt and resistance. But each time you make a conscious choice to live in alignment with the story you want to tell, you are shifting your reality. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes, and eventually the story you've rewritten becomes your truth. You begin to see evidence of the new story everywhere through your actions, your relationships, and the opportunities that start to appear. It's important to remember that changing your story doesn't mean becoming someone you're not. It's about uncovering the truth of who you've always been underneath the layers of false beliefs and limitations. It's about becoming more fully yourself, more aligned with your authentic nature. As you rewrite your story, you begin to live from a place of wholeness and power. You realize that you are not defined by your past, your mistakes, or the things you were told. You are defined by your ability to grow, to change, and to create the life you desire. Your story is yours to tell. It doesn't matter where you've been or where you started. What matters is where you choose to go from here. The power to change your life lies in your ability to choose the story you want to live by.